Welcome to Nice and Blunt. I'm Adam Riancho, and it's week 11, Saturday night. Time for the injury report for week 12. Every team in the league, who's in, who's out in your lineup, along with defensive and offensive line injuries throughout the league. So this video is going to be isolated to just the injury report. I have not posted my running back or receiver rankings yet, so that'll be posted separately later on tonight. If you don't want to miss out, make sure you subscribe to the channel and ring the notification bell so you get updated on when I have new posts. But for this video alone, we're just going to run through every team and every injury to speak of in week 12. Let's get it going. No time to waste. First, we're going to start on offense with position by position, running backs, wide receivers, quarterbacks, and tight ends. And then I'll isolate and curate some defense and O-line injuries, non-fantasy players, separately afterwards. So let us begin in Arizona with the running back position, where Trey Benson did practice this week. He was limited the entire time, but is not going to play. He's out for this game, and Emari Demercado is also out. So that means Bam Knight and Michael Carter are going to get this backfield between the two, and they both caught at least 4 passes last week. Some PPR value in Arizona's backfield. But in Cincinnati, Samaje Perine, the backup, is doubtful. In Green Bay, Josh Jacobs is questionable. He's a true game time decision. I do not know if Jacobs will play because he did not practice on Wednesday. He was off to the side in individual drills. He was not with the rest of the team on Wednesday. But on Thursday and Friday, he was limited on both sessions, and he is a game time decision. I don't know. I think he should play, but at the same time, I don't think they're going to risk it because they play against Detroit on Thanksgiving. The Thursday matchup after this game is, I think, a big factor. The depth chart is going to get healthier, but I think they're going to save those players for Thursday's game on Thanksgiving. So I do think Emmanuel Wilson will get a lot more work even if Jacobs suits up, but I don't really expect Jacobs to be playing. I'll give you a rank on both, though, later in the video. In Jacksonville, Travis Etienne is going to play. He was limited all week in practice with a shoulder injury, and on one of those days, they actually gave him a non-contact jersey on Thursday. They didn't let him get hit, but he is active. He will suit up against the Cardinals. His backup, Bhayshul Tuten, is also active. He was limited all week with an ankle injury, but he is good to go. He will play. In Kansas City, Isiah Pacheco was full on Wednesday, but then limited Thursday and Friday, and he's out. He's not going to play. They're also going to play on Thanksgiving, and it seems like Andy Reid just wanted to gauge where he's at. On Wednesday, it's usually a walkthrough, so a full practice Wednesday doesn't mean the same as one on Friday. I don't think he'll be out, though, past this week. I think he'll be back on Thanksgiving for week 13. For the Patriots, Rhamondre Stevenson is questionable with a toe injury, but I think he will play. He was full in practice on Friday after limited sessions, Wednesday, Thursday. So I'm assuming Rhamondre is active, but I think Travion has established himself as the clear guy. Hopefully Mike Vrabel doesn't hate us so much that Rhamondre gets back in the mix. But the matchup for him is great this week. There is some value, even with the backup. In New Orleans, Alvin Kamara is questionable, but limited all week with an ankle injury. He's been having this repeat week over week. It's been the case given his age. It's not a surprise. He will play on Sunday. But Jaylen Warren of the Steelers is going to be active. He was full in practice on Friday after not practicing Wednesday and then being limited Thursday, ramping up to full by the end of the week. So that's good for the Steelers, but I still think Gainwell is going to factor in. And then in Tampa Bay, Bucky Irving is still not coming back. He's out for this game. Limited all week in practice. That's the second week in a row. And it sounds like there may be something behind the scenes on top of the injury that we're not getting full clarity on. There are reports that it's not just the injury, why he's not playing. So hopefully he's back in week 13. I do not know for sure. Sounds like they're expecting that, but that could just be coach speak. I don't exactly know what's going on. But last minute addition to the injury report on Friday was Kenneth Walker of the Seahawks with a glute injury. And he was full Wednesday, Thursday, but then limited on Friday with a butt bruise. It sounds like he's going to be fine. I don't think it'll factor in too much, but maybe Zach Charbonnet gets a few extra touches. Let's move on to wide receiver, though, where Marvin Harrison Jr. is out for this game again. Drake London's not going to play. He's been doubtful all week, already ruled out. Rashod Bateman didn't practice at all this week. He's also ruled out in Baltimore. JaMarr Chase was suspended for the Bengals. In Detroit, Isaac Tesla is questionable, limited all week in practice, but I do expect him to play. He might be needed a little bit more with no Sam Laporta. In Green Bay, Romeo Doubs is questionable with a wrist injury, limited all week in practice, but I am expecting him to be available and play. Christian Watson was limited all week with his knee injury, but he is active. He will suit up in this game. Matthew Golden, questionable himself with both his shoulder and wrist injury, limited all week. I expect Matthew Golden to play, but not really factor in too much. Don't expect more than 3 or 4 targets for Matthew Golden. But Jayden Reed, someone I think you should be stashing on your bench or especially IR slot, did start practicing on Friday. His return timeline actually expired a couple weeks ago. So he's been taking his time to come back, and I think they are saving him for Thanksgiving in week 13 against the Lions. I expect Jayden Reed to be back on the field. So he's ruled out for this game, but he was practicing on Friday, and that is a good sign for week 13's matchup against the Lions. I think he'll be back, and he might be the top option for Jordan Love. Definitely had value up until the injury. I expect Jayden Reed to be a good flex option rest of season. Next up in Jacksonville, we got Brian Thomas Jr., who has been ruled out despite being limited all week with his high ankle sprain. I'm not surprised. When I heard high ankle sprain, I didn't expect him back for a while. His practice sessions, though, are kind of strange. He's not going to play. Jakobi Meyers is my preferred option in Jacksonville. For the Kansas City Chiefs, Xavier Worthy's questionable. Did not practice Wednesday with an ankle injury, but then limited Thursday, full on Friday. Same situation last week in practice. So expecting to play, Worthy should be fine, but he hasn't done much this year. Darius Slayton of the Giants is going to play with a hamstring injury. He was limited Wednesday, Thursday, and then full on Friday. He's good to go. So that offers some upside. Jameis Winston going to have to chuck it deep. In Seattle, Torrey Horton did not practice at all this week. He's out. In San Francisco, Brandon Aiyuk, his contract was just adjusted. They voided the guarantees, and the vibes are terrible. I think he's going to get cut before the end of the year. He will play for someone else next season, maybe before the year's over. I doubt it, but at the moment, it looks like him and the Niners are breaking up. He does not want to play for them, and it sounds like he might be eligible to play. They wouldn't make this move if he was still hurt and not deciding not to play. So I don't know what's going on there, but Aiyuk not going to factor in for a while, probably not at all in 2025. For the Buccaneers, Egbuka had an illness earlier in the week. He's been limited all week, but he will suit up. He's off the injury report. Good to go with the rookie. But his veteran teammate, Chris Godwin, is going to play full on Thursday, but limited on Friday in practice. I'm expecting Godwin to play. It all sounds good. I think he'll be fine. They're just being cautious, given he's coming back from a big injury. So Godwin will play. I don't think it helps them enough, but at least less value for guys like Tez Johnson. Calvin Ridley of the Titans broke his fibula last week, so he's on the IR for the rest of season. But his rookie teammate, Ayomanor, did not practice at all this week and is out for this game. So Chimeri DK has been the next man up, but beyond Ayomanor, I think Van Jefferson also going to get decent targets. Chig Okonkwo, not the worst plug and play at tight end this week, and maybe moving forward. But last player to mention is Kayshon Boutte, who has missed a few weeks with the Patriots. He is active for this game. He's going to suit up against the Bengals. Let's move on to the quarterback position, where Michael Penix was placed on IR, so Kirk Cousins probably the starter for the remainder of the year. And then Joe Burrow came back from IR. He was practicing this week. He was even full, but they play on Thanksgiving. They did not activate him. He is not going to play in week 12. It's Joe Flacco against Drake May. I'm definitely taking the Patriots to win that game, but he will probably be back in week 13 along with JaMarr Chase. Dylan Gabriel of the Cleveland Browns has a concussion, didn't practice at all this week, so Shedeur Sanders was ruled the starter. Shedeur gets an opportunity to prove the doubters wrong, at least against the Raiders. Not the worst matchup you could find. Daniel Jones was briefly on the injury report on Thursday with a calf injury. He was limited, but on Friday he was good to go. He's fully active against the Chiefs. But in the Giants offense, they're not going to have Jaxson Dart. The rookie is out with a concussion, and Jameis Winston gets a shot against the Lions. A lot of garbage time this week for Jameis Winston against the Lions. Lastly, Aaron Rodgers does have that wrist injury, did not practice Wednesday, limited Thursday and Friday, but is expected to play. It sounds like it's a safety concern rather than a pain tolerance issue, according to him. So I think he just wants to beat the Bears one last time, but I don't know if they have the offense to get it done. Rodgers, though, I do expect to play against the Bears. They're not the worst defense to start. But lastly, the tight end position has a few players inactive. There was Isaiah Likely on the injury report. He didn't practice Wednesday, limited Thursday, but he is good to go. He is active alongside Mark Andrews in Baltimore. For the Browns, however, David Njoku is questionable. Did not practice Wednesday or Thursday, but limited on Friday. He was ruled active. He's off the injury report now. He is going to play, but maybe not 100%. Not sure what his chemistry is with Shadur Sanders. Sam Laporta was placed on season-ending IR, going to have surgery, and is not available rest of season. So Brock Wright might catch a touchdown this week. They could drop a lot of points, and maybe Brock Wright catches a kind of meaningless fantasy touchdown. I doubt you're starting Brock Wright, but could have that touchdown value. You might get 7 points on one reception from Brock Wright. But in Jacksonville, Brenton Strange, I think, will suit up this week. He was on IR and expected to come back last week, but then on Friday suffered a setback and he stayed off the field in week 11. But this week he stayed limited all week long, and it does sound like he's a game time decision. I expect Brenton Strange to be activated. As of this recording, I haven't heard, but I think he'll be available on Sunday. So Brenton Strange making his return with no Brian Thomas Jr. or Travis Hunter might have some value in Jacksonville, but would like to see him actually play before I know what I'm going to get. When it comes to his backup, though, Hunter Long, he's out. There is no competition at tight end in Jacksonville behind Brenton Strange. For the Rams, Tyler Higbee was placed on IR, so a crowded rotation at tight end gets a little less crowded, and Higbee was the main guy. He was the number one, so I do think this opens up some opportunity for the rookie Terrence Ferguson. Keep an eye out on him. At the moment, it's not safe enough to trust, but if he can emerge ahead of Davis Allen and Colby Parkinson, the Rams need a third receiver. It could be the rookie second-round pick, Terrence Ferguson. Austin Hooper had a concussion, was in the protocol this week, but was full on Thursday and Friday and is active. He's going to play for this game. A great matchup, but I only trust Hunter Henry. Lastly, Chig Okonkwo is also going to play. He was limited early in the week with a foot injury, and despite never being full in practice this week, he is off the injury report. He will suit up against the Seahawks. So no Ridley, no Ayomanor. Okonkwo probably gets 6 or maybe 7 targets this week. The last player to mention, though, in fantasy is a kicker. Eddie Pinheiro of the Niners did not practice on Thursday with a hamstring injury, and monitor their practice squad activations. If they pull up a kicker, they're not going to trust Eddie Pinheiro this week. But at the moment, I'm not totally sure. I think they might have a backup, if I had to guess, against the Panthers. So that could factor in. Backup to the backup kicker in San Francisco. Not going to be the best option they can find. Now let's move on to defense and offensive line injuries. Definitely relevant, but not the most important factor. Let's start in Arizona, where their defense, I think, is getting healthier. Cornerback Will Johnson is questionable. So is cornerback Garrett Williams. The secondary could get fully healthy this week. But then on the defensive end, Darius Robinson also upgraded to questionable. And right guard Will Hernandez has been questionable for about a month now. I think he'll play through it yet again. But in Atlanta, their offensive line has multiple injuries. Matthew Bergeron, the left guard, is questionable, along with the right guard, Chris Lindstrom. I think the Saints will have a good game here. But on defense, defensive end Zach Harrison is out. Linebacker Leonard Floyd is questionable. And then nickel cornerback Billy Bowman also out for the Falcons. In Carolina, Cade Mays, the center, is out. Their offensive line has been a rotation this year. And then at linebacker on defense, both Christian Roseboom, he's doubtful. And then Trevin Wallace, another linebacker, is questionable. Not sure he plays. He's missed some time this year. In Chicago, their left tackle Theo Benedict is questionable. And then on defense, 3 linebackers are out. Tremaine Edmonds, TJ Edwards, and Noah Sewell all three are not going to play. But in the secondary, strong safety Jaquan Brisker is questionable. In Cincinnati, star defensive end Trey Hendrickson is out, and cornerback Cam Taylor-Britt was placed on IR. In Detroit, their offensive line is actually very concerning. Every single position on the O-line has an injury. Their left guard, Miles Frazier, is out, and left tackle Taylor Decker, who's been questionable all year, is still questionable. So is center Graham Glasgow. He's questionable. So is right guard Tate Ratledge and right tackle Penei Sewell. Everyone is either questionable or literally one guy's out and the backup is going to play. So they are suiting up on Thanksgiving. That could factor in. If you see some O-linemen exit, they might have a rough time blocking Micah Parsons and the Packers on Thursday. So keep an eye out on the Lions O-line, but against the Giants, I think they'll be fine. On defense, however, in the secondary, they're still without cornerback Terrion Arnold, along with free safety Kirby Joseph. They've missed several games this season. In the Green Bay defense, there's cornerback Nate Hobbs, who's out. Linebacker Quay Walker is doubtful, and defensive end Lucas Van Ness is questionable. For the Colts, defensive tackle DeForest Buckner is on IR. He was recently placed on it, but they are getting back cornerback Charvarius Ward, who is full in practice, activated off IR. He will play against the Chiefs this week. So him alongside Sauce Gardner, the Colts secondary, I think is kind of scary rest of season. The Jacksonville Jaguars are going to be without right tackle Anton Harrison. He's out for this game, along with cornerbacks Jarian Jones and Jordan Lewis. Both are questionable, but I'm not sure if they're going to play. In Kansas City, left guard Kingsley Suamataia is questionable as well. Their O-line has been a bit banged up all year. For the Rams, their left tackle Rob Havenstein was placed on IR. They might get him back before the playoffs, but at the moment, not expecting him back until at least after Christmas. In Minnesota, linebacker Jonathan Grenard, questionable yet again. I think he'll play. In New England, linebacker Harold Landry is questionable. I assume he'll play as well. And then in New Orleans, right tackle Talisi Fuaga is also questionable. I think he'll play. But in the Giants defense, there's a couple players out. Linebacker Kayvon Thibodeau is not going to play. Neither is cornerback Paulson Adebo for another straight game. And then strong safety Tyler Nubin is questionable, along with cornerback Dante Banks as well. Both of them are questionable for the Giants. For the Jets, defensive end Will McDonald is questionable as well, along with defensive tackle Harrison Phillips. Both of them may not play. But in Philadelphia, right tackle Lane Johnson is out. They need him back soon. He's pretty critical. And then in Pittsburgh, linebacker Alex Highsmith is doubtful. He's missed for several weeks with an injury. But in San Francisco, linebacker Tatum Bethune is doubtful as well, along with linebacker Luke Gifford. And they've been depleted in the linebacking core. Another backup going to suit up against Carolina. I think Rico Dowdle will go off. But Seattle, their left guard Gray Zabel is questionable. Their O-line pretty much is dog shit already, so that's a bummer. He's one of their best options, despite not being impressive that often. And then on the defense, linebacker Ernest Jones, also questionable as well. But in Tampa Bay, left guard Ben Breedson is out. And then on defense, linebacker Hassan Reddick and cornerback Jamel Dean, both of them are out as well. So against the Rams, I don't think they'll stop. Matthew Stafford. Last team to mention is Tennessee, where free safety Xavier Woods is out, along with cornerback L'Jarius Sneed. He's on IR. And cornerback Daryl Becker is questionable as well. So that's it for the injury report. So that's it for this video. If you enjoyed, hit that like button and subscribe to the channel for more content like this. This information definitely helps you set your lineup, but if you're still interested in all of my rankings, those running back and receiver rankings will be posted later tonight. If you don't want to miss out, a reminder, hit that subscribe button down below and ring the notification bell as well so you get updated whenever I drop new content. But that's it for this one. Look out for the rankings tonight. And my final update, I'm changing one pick against the spread. But I'm Adam Riancho. I'll see you next time. Thank you for watching. Nice and blunt.